This Bristol 2 NASCAR weekend betting recap edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHM.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Boy, does it feel like forever since we've been here. It's the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. And Cody, we were just talking about before the break, as much as we love Saturday racing for the fact that we have Sundays open now for the rest of the world, it just feels like a long time to not necessarily talk about NASCAR.
Yeah, it does feel like it's been a really long time since we talked about it, since it happened. Yeah, weird. Saturday night, obviously, so it's been almost 2 full days since the weekend's activity. Shit, it's almost been a week since the trucks raced. Hopefully we remember what that race was when we talk about it. But yeah, glad to be back another week. All 3 series in action again this week. Kansas Speedway, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's, possibly been one of the best track on the circuit as of late. So, yeah, we're in for another good race. Another good week of racing. Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, back to the 1.5 miles. I mean, I know they said it on the broadcast too, as they were kind of bowing out. They were like, this is the first 1.5 miles we've been to in a very long time. And it just feels like before, right? It was just cookie cutter races. Now you can't even say that because, again, we've got short tracks, super speedways, road course races, like all in a row. These guys can't get comfortable. And now you put them in a 1.5 miles that they haven't been on in a while. I don't know if anybody's comfortable still.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's great. And that's going to continue. Another, the playoff round resets here. And it's a 1.5 miles, and then it's a super speedway, and then it's a road course. So going to continue to keep them on their toes, which we love.
We do very much indeed keeping them on their toes. Speaking of keeping people on their toes, Doug Stanhope, Brendan Walsh, Sean Green host the newest podcast on SGPN, Get to the Points, every Thursday before the game. Doug, Brendan, and Sean give out their favorite plays and talk a ton of shit. Doug and Brendan's are professional comedians. You may know them from the Joe Rogan podcast, the Howard Stern Show, and Comedy Central. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Heavy-hitting additions to the SGPN network. This network just keeps getting stronger, Cody, and thank God they keep us around.
That's right. Thank God. Yeah, we appreciate you guys for listening. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't. So, yeah, another show, big names too in there. That's big in the comedy world, of course, crossing over with sports. So that's pretty awesome. Talking about big things happening, Rod. Should we go back before the races and after we recorded last and talk about the big news that happened on Friday?
Oh yeah, there was a few announcements there.
There was a trade. A trade has happened. Adam Schefter breaking in here. It's yeah. This weird. I don't really know what to think about this, but Spire and Rick Ware Racing made a trade basically on Friday, and that will take place starting this weekend at Kansas. So weird too, because it's a Chevrolet team, it's a Ford team. They're not even in the same camp. There's not any alliances there or anything like that. But Corey LaJoie leaves the 7-car effective now, right? Of course, he raced Sunday, but or Saturday night, I guess, and then officially now he's a Rick Ware driver and a Ford driver once again, and he's going to be in the 51 for the rest of the season. Justin Haley leaves the 51 from Rick Ware, goes over to Spire. He's going to be in the 7-car the rest of the season. And also next season, he'll be paired up with Rodney Childers. It sounds like maybe some HMS connection in there. People were all like, oh, Haley's going to go to the 48. That's not what's happening. But there is that alliance between Spire and Hendrick. Maybe that's got something to do with wanting him in the pipeline, whatever the case is. I don't know. But it's that's the deal, which is, this was Haley's first year at Rick Ware. And it was like, wow, you left Collie to go to Rick Ware. And then we're like, whoa, you made a great decision going to Rick Ware. Now he's left there already. Kind of weird, like it was a multi-year deal, and there was a lawsuit that was involved and has now been dropped because of this trade happening. And then LaJoy, like he's going to finish out the season in the 51, but we don't know that he'll be back there. Spire, like from him being their first employee to we can't get rid of him fast enough, was just a crazy like acceleration of plans. But yeah, this is not, I think if you go back to like early 2000s, or maybe it was even in the 90s, there was like Steve Park and Steve Grissom kind of like switched rides. It was almost like a trade type of thing, but that's something you really see in, in football. This is normal, but in NASCAR, you don't see trades mid-season very often.
No, especially not this late in the season. We're talking, just a few races left that they're swapping rides. Usually they just let them ride out the rest of the year.
Usually it's, next year, or even in the Tyler Reddick case or Kevin Harvick, like, in a year and a half, he's going to switch teams. And then maybe that gets sped up to the next season, right? What we saw with the Tyler Reddick. But to just actually trade, in the middle of the season or end of the season, I get it. But still, very interesting move, I suppose.
Well, Corey's now stacking Dogecoin. He's not stacking pennies anymore. That Rick Ware team, we said it made some big strides with Haley behind the wheel, but I feel like all of those strides essentially just got hobbled with LaJoy. Look at Greg. He was running well in this race. He was running well. He's been running well a little while, but this does not help that 51 team at all. So who knows what's going on? This may just be a place marker until next season when they can bring somebody else in. But yeah, now I don't know that this puts too much stuff on the radar. It definitely takes a 51 off the plate for even a top 10 finish over the course of the next season.
Well, we got Talladega coming up still, so 51 will be in contention there, but it definitely puts the 7 more on your radar, right? LaJoy already had been getting some top 10s, which is kind of a stretch, and now you put Haley in there, and I don't think that anybody thinks that Haley's not a better driver, because we all know that he is. And so if he can do what Hocevar's been doing, and even what we've started to see from Zane Smith, that could be a positive spin for Spire there to finish out the season.
Indeed. So silly season. We've already talked about some silly season. It continues to roll on throughout the regular season and the postseason. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled for any other dominoes that may end up falling. Okay, Cody, I feel like Bristol is the time to talk about Bristol, but I'm asking you now, do you want me to go to break so we can make this an extended Cup Series, or should we talk about trucks really quick? And then I guess we should talk about the Cup Series, right? That's the elephant in the room.
Hit the break, Rod, and let's get into this, because I have thoughts, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts, because I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to actually talk much about the race, and we saved it for this, so that's kind of a good thing for you guys out there. So, all right, here's what we'll do. We'll come back from the break. We're going to talk about the Bristol Cup race, because that is what everybody wants to hear about right now. But first, let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Hey, absolutely crushed Underdog Fantasy this week for Bristol. So please make sure that you are checking out our DFS shows, because you're passing up free money. I'm telling you right now, Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. It's always adding to their awesome menu. Not just football, not just baseball, not just all those stick and ball sports that you love so much, but of course, NASCAR, all the series. You get F1 in there as well. Plus, they also have first TD projections too for football. So many things that are being added to Underdog each and every day. There's a ton of ways to win with NFL, college football, MLB, MMA. Again, like we said, NASCAR, Formula One, so much more. That lobby is jam-packed with profit boost and no sweat entries. You can also use specials and boost on all flexed entries. Listen, I'm telling you right now, we did some great work on Underdog last week, so you might want to listen to us in the future, because when we were talking about all of our fun Cup Series DFS picks, we talked about having Byron better than 9.5. Guess what he was? Gibbs worse than 6.5. Guess what he was? Blaney worse than 9.5. Guess what? He was not, but still, if you could use your pick 8, you could definitely get the mulligan on that one. In the meantime, use our promo code RACESGP, and you're going to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000. $1,000 will get that graphic updated, I promise you, in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. Well, Cody, so Bristol happened. And not to bury the lead, Kyle Larson almost leads the damn thing wire to wire. He led, oh my God.
Only the third largest amount of laps led in this race, Rod.
Isn't that crazy?
Two races that have had more laps led than what he led was, what, 462?
462 of 500 laps around this track. I mean, when I went back and I had to listen to what I said about Kyle Larson, because I just picked him as the outright. I said, you just sometimes have to.
And you talked me into it. My article on sportsgamblingpodcast.com that I wrote after our show, I added him in there and gave him as the outright. I talked about him, I think, as a top 5, which we'll get to in a few, but yeah, I ended up adding him as the outright. So we were both on that. And boy, I mean, you couldn't get much of an easier cash than that. I don't really know what more you're asking for.
Yeah. So the only question is, because of the way that he dominated, and I mean, literally was going out to like 2-3 second leads on Bristol, which not easy to do first and foremost, but he would, cycle through and regain that lead. So, and he would build that lead back up again. 462. That is an astounding number. The question is, though, Cody, because we've seen Jeff Gluck's poll, and we've seen that the majority of people do not.
27%. Good race, boy.
Okay. My question to you, because again, I know what I feel about this, but what do you feel about this? How do you feel about this race and how it played out?
Yeah. So a couple of things here. The most exciting race ever, Rod? No, it wasn't. Is every single football game that you turn on just down to the wire, goes to overtime, last second Hail Marys? No, they're not. Okay. We've had how many overtime races this year, right? I think we're approaching a record. We've had a lot. We've had exciting finishes. We've had the Kansas finish. We've had the Atlanta finish. We've had all of these things that are just crazy, right? And all that's exciting. And this one, from that aspect of things, didn't have that. And I get that. And I think that's what people have just grown to want, and they're spoiled into being. We had a Saturday night race. We got to sit down, watch 500 laps. It was exciting. There were storylines, right? Martin Truex Jr., look, here he is. He's running second place. Things are going to go well. The most veteran driver in the entire garage makes the biggest mistake and ends the last chance he ever have in his career at winning a NASCAR championship because of a mistake he made. Same thing with his young teammate, right? Does the same thing in Ty Gibbs. There were storylines. Look at Daniel Suarez hanging on to 30th place and still advancing to the next round, just doing just enough to get himself into the next round of the playoffs. There were storylines throughout this, and Kyle Larson tweeted something about it. If you lead 450 laps and then we get overtime, the polls flipped, right? So is that what suddenly makes it a great race, is because we had overtime? Well, let's just line them up and start with 10 laps to go and do it from there. I get that you want every race to have some exciting finish and stuff, but it's not going to happen every time. 7 seconds. This was the largest finish in next gen history. Which I didn't even, when Chiefs put that in the Discord, I go, no fucking way. And I had to, not that I don't trust you, Chiefs, but I had to look it up for myself, because I'm like, what? And it really was that's how spoiled we've gotten, is only a 7-second victory. And it was, and everybody hates it. Look, we got to see the best driver in the world kick everybody's ass. That doesn't happen every single week. This isn't what Max Verstappen did in F1, where he's winning every single week. All we want to do is complain about the car and not to dog on advertisers, but maybe you don't buy Goodyears for your car, Rod, if they can't figure out what they're doing. They told us there was going to be wear last week, told us there was going to be wear this week. I mean, maybe it's good that their tires don't wear, but if they don't know what they're doing to their tires, I don't know. But there were storylines. It was a decent race. So, they couldn't pass, Rod. They couldn't pass. Okay. Well, Chase Elliott started 10th and finished 2nd. I'm not sure how he got there if you can't pass. Bubba Wallace started 11th and finished 3rd, but you can't pass. Ryan Blaney started 22nd and finished 6th. Well, how do they get these spots if they can't pass, Rod? All I heard is you can't pass. Well, then I was just listening to Denny Hamlin's podcast. I just started and got a little bit into it. And he's talking about on the last lap of the race, Todd Gilliland and Kyle Larson ran the same lap time, Rod. Todd Gilliland finished in 32nd spot. They're running the same lap time. There's just nothing. Todd Gilliland's 4 laps down. What? If they're exactly the same and you can't pass, how is Todd Gilliland 4 laps down? It's almost like a 500-lap race happened here, and other things determined. We wanted the cars to be pretty equal, right? I'd say they're fucking equal. And Kyle Larson did a better job than Todd Gilliland did. He's 4 fucking laps behind him. Like, it's well, I don't understand what people want. And yeah, if this was every single week, a guy's leading 460 laps and winning the race, and there's not ever many passes for the lead, there's plenty of things going on throughout the field. There were plenty of storylines to watch. I mean, Arby's, shout out to them, like the greatest advertising scheme in history. You pick a slow car that's that slow on a track like this. You know how many times we saw the Arby's car on TV, Rod? My goodness. I went and got Arby's because I don't even like Arby's. And I saw the Arby's car so many times, I went and got Arby's. Like, what do you people want? Like, this isn't every single week, and it's not, yeah, it wasn't the most thrilling thing ever, but it wasn't that horrible of a race. Like, it's a good Saturday night race under the lights, 120,000 people in attendance. NASCAR's dying, I heard, but it's a lot of fucking people at a race. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Rob?
So
good thing we took that commercial, huh?
That's why I did it. Exactly why I did it. Look, here's okay. If you are watching NASCAR only to pay attention to who wins the race, you're doing it wrong. Because week after week after week, like it sometimes it just doesn't have the excitement that it needs to at the end. You have to watch the sport up and down. That's why we give you picks for 30th place. That's why we give you picks for the mid of the field. Because if you are just basing your entire excitement level on who wins the race and how do they do it, then you are missing the whole point. There are 36 drivers in this particular on the track at one time. There are 36 different ways for you to be involved and engaged in this race, whether that's paying attention to Kyle Larson, checking out for and lapping all but the top 10 cars of this race, which by
is
the
funny
way,
because you can't pass. So I don't understand how they did that.
No, Cody, it doesn't count because they're all lap cars and they're slow.
I get that that's not like a quality pass statistics wise, but it's still you have to pass the car to lap them. That's how it works.
No, if you look though, it was still difficult for them to pass lap cars.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Don't make it easy to pass. Like it should be. He should have to put some skill into it and have to do it. But he did a fucking pretty good job of it. I mean, and that's why, you know, I know we like to joke on Corey LaJoie and hate on him, but like his mantra of stacking pennies is a real thing. Like that's where he, you know, and if you don't know the whole story, like he was seeing a sports psychologist, and he's obviously not in competition to win every single week or ever really, but instead he can go stack these pennies, and those pennies are finish inside the top 25 or finish inside the top 20 or qualify inside the top 10 or whatever. There's so many other things throughout the weekend of, you know, storylines to watch and everything. It just, I mean, yeah, if Larson would have led 450 laps and we got 2 overtimes, then it would have been 70, 80% positive, great race when one little thing changed. And really put all the work that these guys, like, we don't generally get to see all the work you put in over 500 laps actually pay off at the end of the day. Maybe that changes and Ty Gibbs ends up getting into the next round of the playoffs because, you know, they rebunch it up and he gains a bunch of spots there at the end, which as a Ty Gibbs fan, great, that'd be cool. But he didn't earn that throughout the day. He cost himself that by speeding, and he had to pay for it later. Like, and Daniel Suarez earned it by he came in with built himself a big cushion and used every bit of that cushion to get to the next round. Like, those things change, and sometimes that's good for your bets. Sometimes it's bad for your bets. In this case, we both had tickets on Larson. So I don't hate seeing the guy that I have a bet to win lead 460 laps, because then it feels pretty good at the end of the day, right? And maybe if you didn't bet on him, it wasn't as exciting, but it was still like, yeah, not the best race ever. I'm not going to say that it was, but you have to learn to enjoy it for what it is. And even we've talked about that with F1 for a while. Like, even when Max was winning every single race by a lot, which is not the case anymore, but there's still, you're worried about that points battle, and you're worried about, you know, who's 10th, who's 11th, who's 6th, who's 7th, where are these head-to-heads? Like, I was watching Tyler Reddick on the ticker more than anything else because I had most money invested into fading him than anything on the whole weekend, right? It worked out pretty nicely. So but it just, you gotta just learn to enjoy it, Rod. Embrace it. And if every single week we get a guy that's leading 460 of 500 laps, or 260 of the 267 this next week, and then let's raise some alarms. And the short track package isn't great, and maybe Goodyear didn't get the right guy to piss in it. Maybe he forgot to eat the asparagus this time. I don't know, but geez, just don't be so butthurt about everything, everybody.
It's all right. It's all right. Well, I mean, look, our fans know how to watch NASCAR, so we definitely don't have to worry about that because they know that we're giving them something to pay attention to up and down the field, which is exactly what we did, Cody, with our bets. So let's get into those and continue to talk about this race as we flush out our bets on the quick time.
Just mentioned it. Chase Elliott over over Tyler Reddick. Fade Tyler Reddick was the theme going into this weekend. Look, he's a great driver. We love him. Think he's going to be the champion, all this stuff, but not good at Bristol. That held true. 20th place finish for him. Chase Elliott finishes second. Luckily for us, when Tyler Reddick qualified 5 spots worse than Chase Elliott, we knew he was never going to have a chance because you can't pass. So yet somehow he finished 18 spots ahead of him. Still trying to do the math on that. But Chase Elliott over Tyler Reddick. It's minus 130, but you never, ever, ever for 1 second sweated this throughout the entire day.
No, because Tyler Reddick was not in the mix, and we said he wasn't going to be. I mean, there was a couple times where they're like, "Oh, look, Tyler Reddick," but he disappeared nearly as quickly as he came up, which goes into my bet, which I had Stuart Haas over 23-11. Boy, when you talk about Chase Briscoe being as good as he was in this race, he lost it. He just lost it. I mean, he started to get. I think a pit stop got him too as well, but Bubba Wallace, hats off to him, man. Charged from 11th place and then kind of fell back too in that round of pit stops and found himself and got his way back up again. Bubba was hard charging, man. I should have probably not counted out Bubba as much as I did, but for Chase Briscoe, bro, he had this was his, and he just ended up losing it there at the end. It just didn't. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, he couldn't hold on to it.
You end up with 2 SHR cars in the top 8. You end up with 3 in the top 12. I mean, 3 of them beat Tyler Reddick by at least 8 spots. If you'd have told me all of that going into this, I'm feeling pretty good about this bet. Bubba surprised us. I mean, we didn't necessarily be quiet, Bubba. We don't want you to not be going that hot going into Kansas this week. What do we want to bet on you? But I mean, it just this felt like a good bet. And it was close, but yeah, Bubba Wallace ends up pulling it out at the end. Rod, I had Kyle Busch top 10 plus 130. Unfortunately for Kyle Busch, he qualified in 29th. He can't pass. So, of course, we know he finished in 29th. Oh, wait, he didn't finish in 29th. That's weird. I guess he passed some cars. Finished in 25th, so he didn't pass very many cars. But, yeah, this never had a shot on the day, unfortunately. Was kind of just wishing and hoping. We've seen speed from RCR lately, but nowhere to be found this weekend. There was not any RCR speed, Rob.
No, and definitely not any from Kyle Busch. All right. I had Michael McDowell, top 10 car, plus 375. Michael McDowell, top 10 car. Oh, no. Here comes stupid Ross Chastain to ruin the whole damn thing. And Michael McDowell, 1 spot away from finishing a top 10. Hey, look it. He wasn't there. I mean, Michael McDowell started 18th place, right? He just found himself in the right spots at the right time, making the right moves, making the right passes. Pit stops went well for him. Like, all the stuff was going good, got himself into the top 10. And then at the end, I mean, I think it was up to 8th at one point and just slid back a couple spots because he couldn't hold on to it. I think he even got nicked too at one point, and that kind of set him off and ruined his top 10 chances. And he kind of plowed his way back up, almost made it there, but that last position that got passed for, I was hoping maybe he would be able to catch back up to Ross, but there was no catching Ross.
Yeah, at almost 4-1. I mean, to be 1 spot short hurts, of course, but definitely was on the right track as far as making a good bet there. At Chase Elliott top 10, even money. This was easy money, more so. Second place. I mean, he was good all day, right? He was never as good as Kyle Larson. Of course, nobody was, but he worked his way up into second place there. Of course, you had a couple of people kind of fall out in front of him there with Truex and Briscoe slid back a little bit, but he worked his way up, started in 10th place. So we already knew it was a cash because you can't pass anybody. So he's going to finish in the top 10 at the end of the day. And then he ended up working his way up to second somehow. Again, not sure how he did that, but never really a sweat on this one. So cash on the Chase Elliott, even money.
I mean, we said that these Hendrick cars were going to be good on this track. And we kind of called our shot on this one because I also took Bowman as a top 5 car at plus 650. What does he do? He parks the damn car on the pole, but he could not hang on. He got past quite a bit. Finished in 9th place actually for Alex Bowman. But the thing is that he wasn't going to hang on to the lead, and I was just hoping that he could hang on to a top 5 spot, but he was having trouble. I mean, he was not running well as he could, I think, for that race. Something about him just kind of touched it off. He managed to stay in the top 10, which was good, but I mean, once he got out of that top 5, I knew he wasn't getting back in again. So Alex Bowman plus 650 top 5. I mean, listen, for the speed he had at the beginning of the race, to get on the pole, this was a hell of a good value. Just wish he'd hung on to it.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he hung on to it. Of course, close getting in the top 10. So hopefully you took the top 10 in addition. I had a couple of longer shot top 10s. Rod Carson Hocevar at plus 450. Todd Gilliland at 12-1. Hocevar 18th place. Again, like the stat was, he'd been top 17 every race for forever, basically. Almost held true to that again, finishing in 18th place. But not sure. I mean, he did qualified 7th. The Spire cars qualified well. I mean, LaJoy starts 9th. He starts in 7th place. So you're like, okay, they've got some of that early speed, right? But just unfortunately, Hocevar, I feel like had an issue at some point. I can't remember what happened with him, but I'm not sure. But Todd Gilliland, top 10 at 12-1. He ended up on the alternative strategy at one point there and tried to run long, and it didn't quite work, and then ends up 4 laps down, even though he was running the same time as Larson, which, again, I'm not sure how you get past 4 laps down if you can't pass, but I'll stop talking about that here in a minute. But not really a chance on Gilliland to hit that top 10 either.
Well, today's theme is that if you can't pass, how do you pass? So, speaking of not passing, nobody passed Larson. Adam is a top 3 car. Basically said this was the lock of all locks among locks. And yeah, it was just no doubt in my mind once he took off and once he got the lead and held on to it for as long as he did that he was just going to run away with this. So, I
mean, arguably his best track, like if you look at what he's done at Bristol, and that's why you were on the top 3 at plus 180. I was on the top 5 at even money because he's just been really fucking good here. Neither of those were a sweat at all. You cashed your plus 180. I cashed my even money. And then it translated right into your winning car number bet, Rod.
I told you the under 11.5. That was that's too huge of a gap to give you. In fact, if you look, the top 2 cars, 3 of the top 4 rather even were under this, Larson, Elliott, and then Hamlin in 4th. So, I mean, you had 3 shots in that instance. You only needed the 1, but you had 3 shots to cash the plus money side of the winning car number under 11.5. So, yay for us.
Yeah, great call by you. A couple outrights for me. I had Chris Buescher at 16-1, Kyle Busch at 22-1. We already talked about Busch. Just didn't really show up. Buescher also not. I mean, you didn't see the speed from him. Never really had a chance. He started 17th, finished 14th. He really didn't pass many cars. Just kind of hung out there. But Chase Elliott at 20-1, Rod. 2nd place finish for 20-1. I'll take that every time. Of course, you'd rather he finishes in 1st place. But it was definitely on the right track there. The number was just too big for as good as he'd been at Bristol, and didn't have his teammate's car, of course, but even as dominating of a performance as Larson had, it was only 7 seconds at the end of the day. So it's not like he was that far back. And Larson makes a mistake. We've seen that happen plenty of times. Elliott's right there. Maybe we do get that overtime finish. Oh boy, that goes to overtime and Elliott wins, Rod. Oh, buddy. Talk about that pole being at 95%. That would have done the trick.
Yeah, I look at all I'm going to say is that obviously I gave you Kyle Larson on FanDuel at 7-1. I told you 7-1 was a horrendously mispriced line because if you were going to take a guy that was as dominant on this track at almost 10-1, then you got to take it because there's no way. Now, granted, other books had him somewhere in the 6s or even 5s at that point. So you had really good value on FanDuel. I hope you were able to get in on that because, I mean, as boring as it is sometimes to say that the best driver is going to win, sometimes the best driver just wins and you can't get away from it. So, yep. All right. Put a bow, a bell, a pin in Bristol. We'll come back to it next year, but we'll move on to Kansas for the Cup Series, but we'll continue in Bristol for our Xfinity and Truck Series.
Just one more note on the Cup Series as well, Rod. I'm sure you've seen it by now. Chase, why'd they do that? The people who were eliminated was Harrison Burton, to nobody's surprise. Ty Gibbs, a little bit of a surprise there, getting eliminated. Truex, maybe not too much of a surprise. And Brad Keselowski, which was actually a huge surprise, especially as bad as they were at Bristol. So, yeah, we'll talk more tomorrow on the picks show about the playoff reset and where everybody sits going forward. But those were your four. And really, I mean, not really any super shocking cuts there. Gibbs, we thought make the next round, but he was one of the drivers that hadn't won. Truex, we've seen him. I mean, Burton was just lucky to be there, right? It's one of those, happy I was here. We'll move on to a shitty Xfinity car next year. And then Keselowski, kind of the surprise, but Hamlin being the one going in below the cut, you're not shocked that he was able to get out of that position and move on to the next round.
Indeed. For all you Gibbs fans out there, I promise I'll leave them alone the rest of the season. We're done. I will no longer select Gibbs bets because...
Sorry, Truex fans. I think I know what head-to-heads I'm targeting the rest of the season.
Oh, for sure. All right. Speaking of Xfinity, let's move on to that. But first, let me tell you about BetUS. We're brought to you by BetUS. Bet with the best in the business, BetUS. BetUS has been around for more than 30 years. You can easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts. We gave you a ton of great odds and great numbers from BetUS last week when we were giving you our bets. So hopefully you followed them, and we'll give you some more tomorrow when we come back with our Cup Series episode as well. Support SGPN and get yourself access to another great book by signing up at BetUS. Use our link to sign up and get 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That way they know that we sent you. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. You can build your own model, copy one of the top-performing models from the leaderboard, or press Build a Model for Me, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player props, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Listen, I know that a lot of people were high on Travis Kelce last night. I used Rhythm and built myself a model so that I could figure out how many receptions his number was set at 4.5. My model said go under. Just he's going to get 4, and that's it. Guess what? He got 4 receptions. That's it. Rhythm was that great and gave me the insight to go under and cash the under prop. So gotta love Rhythm for that. Claim your 7-day free trial today. Go under by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. I'll tell you that I have to thank him, though, for dropping that last one, because whatever that was, they were like, oh, no, shit, Rod took the under. And so he dropped it, and that was good. So that last target had me sweating there.
That's the great thing, Rod. The sweats in betting, so good, man. My Huskers unfortunately did not win on Friday night, but the biggest bet that I placed in a while was on them to go over 13.5 in the first half, Rod. And they scored a touchdown with like 13 seconds left in the half or something, and it was like, oh my God.
Gotta love
but
it.
Hey, the sweat was great. That's what it's all about.
Speaking of sweat, it was no sweat for the 0-0 of Cole Custer. He didn't lead 462 of 300 laps. However, he did lead 104 of 300 laps to win this race on Friday night, the Food City 300.
And stole the regular season title. I mean, he came in, was it 46 points behind Justin Allgaier? Allgaier has trouble early, and boy, just dude can't catch a break, Rod. Talk about pianos falling out of the sky. But Custer ends up taking home the regular season title and grabbing those bonus points to head into the Xfinity Series playoffs, which will begin at Kansas this coming week.
Indeed. He had the entire piano store fall on him, Justin Allgaier. That's for damn sure. But we'll talk through those. We'll talk through our bets from this Food City 300. Cody, where'd your card begin?
Dale Earnhardt Jr., top 5 at plus 135. Ends up 7th on the day, Rod. Not quite a top 5, but good to see the Mayo Missile, the legend, the most popular driver himself, Dale Earnhardt, man, the reactions from his introduction before that race, of course, just outstanding. Everybody loves the guy. Sad that might be the last chance that we get to bet on him, which is unfortunate, but just came up short on this one. But you had to place the bet, right? We talked about it. You bet on this with your heart more than anything, even though really your head said he should be fast, and he was fast, and he had his opportunities there. I mean, really impressive. They had all the issues. He couldn't hear anything in the first part of the race, right? And so he's literally clearing himself at Bristol. It's not, Kansas, where at least you got some spread out space, right? This is nice, tight Bristol. He's clearing himself. I don't know what that says about TJ Majors. No, just kidding. But and then, they come in, they change the helmets, then he loses his glasses, all these things. And still, like, the next second you look up and you're like, oh shit, he's back in the top 10 already. Like, he did a great job getting back up there. So maybe without all those issues, get a little bit of a better finish and catch the top 5. But always good to see Junior out there, and hopefully we'll get another chance to bet on him before it's all said and done.
As a fellow over 40-year-old man, I can tell you right now that I don't know how on God's green earth he drove Bristol with no glasses, because that in and of itself, my friends, I can barely see anything 2 feet in front of me without my glasses, let alone trying to drive at Bristol with no glasses. So good on you, Dale. Wished you better.
He's been around there. And it's like, when they talk about, it's that muscle memory. You don't even remember how you got to work or whatever. He's been around there enough times. It's fine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Plenty of times, but yeah. Good on you to be able to get back into 7th place anyways. A great day for him overall. Just fun to watch that 88 truck around. I said the ceiling for Sheldon Creed would be 2nd. I said that was his ceiling. So if Mayer were to beat him, he would have to win this race. Well, guess what? Sam Mayer did not win this race. He, in fact, finished in 9th. But good on him. He led 55 laps in this race, came from 20th all the way to 9th. That was a lot of strategy call on that one as well for Mayer to get himself up there. But Sheldon Creed, once again, 2nd place finish. 28 laps he led. Thought he was going to do it. Gosh.
What was that? Is that 13?
13, yes.
13.
Yes. That is the record.
Finishes.
The record for that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's insane.
Brutal.
But again,
I'm telling you, he's going to win that championship race, and it's going to be crazy.
Take it all. Yeah, Sheldon Creed comes in 2nd. Sam Mayer comes in 9th. Sheldon Creed just had that car. He just could have won and didn't. But still, I called it. I said 2nd place was the ceiling. Yep. He hit it. We hit this bet.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, everything you just said was spot on. I had AJ Allmendinger top 5 plus 220. Top 10. I mean, he started in 5th place, so you had that to look at the beginning. Unfortunately, you could pass an Xfinity Series race, I guess. So he was top 5 in stage 1, but sort of fell back after that, and really don't think had a chance to cash this top 5 bet after the early portions of this race. Unfortunately, top 10. I mean, it's a decent day for him, but sucks because obviously the number we had was top 5.
Well, and we said we wanted top 10s because exactly the reason why this happened too. Ryan Sieg, we had to take him at a top 5 because there's no such thing as top 10s at 7-1. I said I would have loved to have Ryan Sieg as a top 10 car at half of this price. Well, guess what? Ryan Sieg finishes 8th. Like, he started 12th, finished 8th. This is exactly the day we knew we were going to get out of Ryan Sieg. We said he was going to be a top 10 car. We said he could probably try to sneak his way into the top 5. Unfortunately, he didn't sneak his way into the top 5, but he was a top 10 car. Give us top 10s, books.
It'd be nice if they did, Rod. I mean, 7-1 to be within 3 spots. Again, while it doesn't cash, that's what you're looking for, and that's how you hit those types of bets. Guess what we're going to be betting at Kansas this week, Rod? Ryan Sieg top 5. Don't tell anybody. Okay. Something I wish I maybe wouldn't have bet. Riley Herbst top 5 at plus 320. 13th place. He started in 15th place, and that was about it. I mean, he got in the top 10 in the 2nd stage, but there was also some strategy there. Like, I don't know. And I said the number was right because he had the ability to do it, but he doesn't always put it together. Well, he didn't put it together, and that's really, I mean, his teammate goes out and leads a good portion of the race and wins, right? So you like having seen that, but it didn't translate to the 98 car, unfortunately. So Riley Herbst's top 5 was a miss at plus 320.
Yeah, and this race had a lot of strategy going, which is exactly why we tell you that if you're watching it, just to pay attention to who's in front. you're doing it wrong. There's so many other things to watch in the race. And this was one of those races where, caution kind of got you. Allgaier's caution got you. Dale Earnhardt's radio stuff got you. I mean, there was so much more to pay attention to than just Cole Custer leading 102 laps, which also led to Brandon Jones as a top 5 car. Damn it, Ryan Truex. Damn it. Brandon Jones was a top 5 car late in this race. Brandon Jones got passed for that 5th spot. I was 1 spot away from a top 5 from Brandon Jones. He had a good car pretty much all day long.
He did. And now we got to go to Kansas and Talladega, 2 of his best tracks. How are we not going to bet on him the next 2 weeks, Rod? We keep betting on this guy, and he's won so much money for us over the past, but the season's been rough, and he was so close this time. Just makes it sting even more. Talk about being close. Truex top Toyota plus 340. Creed second, Chandler Smith in third, and then Truex in 5th. But look, if Sheldon Creed or if Chandler Smith ends up being the one that the piano falls on instead of Justin Allgaier, that's something we've seen plenty of times, right? He's out of the way, and then it's just Truex and Creed. Truex a top 5 car. Didn't necessarily have the speed to compete for the win at the end of the day, but he was up there top 5 throughout the day. Plus 340. It's a lot better number than you were getting on his top 5. You're just hoping maybe he could beat some of those other Toyotas, kind of banking on somebody has an issue or two. Didn't happen, so it doesn't cash this time. But Truex was good like we expected him to be. I mean, he was in the mix. Wasn't going to win the race ever, I don't think, but at least in the mix throughout the day there. And, of course, get to battle Dale Earnhardt Jr. there for a while at the end was pretty cool to see before Jones ends up getting around Earnhardt and almost getting that top 5 for you.
Yes, sir. Speaking of top cars, Custer top 3 plus 120. That's about as easy as a Larson top 3 from the.
It feels like 2 races in a row where you gave out the winner at the top 3 number, Rod.
Well, that kind of what happens when you kind of pay attention to what goes on. So Cole Custer top 3 plus 120. That was not even a sweat.
He's more of an automatic machine than Creed is for top 2s, Rod. He just gets top 3 every single week. Of course, he wins this one. I'd Riley Herbst over Brandon Jones, kind of hedging off of you betting on him, thinking he's inconsistent at times. Well, unfortunately, the inconsistency was with Herbst this time. We sort of talked about that already. So just not a Herbst day, unfortunately. And Jones was able to avoid the piano, which is not always the case. So shout out to him, but did miss this one.
Indeed. My winning car number odd. I knew I was thinking Justin Allgaier would be the winner of this race. Justin Allgaier probably should have been the winner of this race, but unfortunately, Mother Nature in piano stores across the Tennessee area had other thoughts about that. So winning car number was not odd this time, unfortunately.
It was not, unfortunately, 00. It goes in the even category, although it's 0 number. It's always a question, Rod, so it doesn't count. I don't know, but I guess it wasn't odd either way. So there you have it. Outrights for me. Herbst 22-1. Number was too big for him. I mean, I would place that again, even though he shit the bed. Truex at 10-1. He's a top 5 at the end of the day. You like to see that, maybe a late caution or two, and that changes. Chandler Smith plus 475. Felt pretty good about this, right? He starts on the pole, leads and wins stage 1. Then he's up there throughout the race. Just kind of didn't quite have enough for Custer, and then Creed got around him as well. So top 3 car at the end of the day. Not gonna shut him off the list again this time because he's at least performing well again. We'll see. We got Kansas this week, bigger track. I don't know if I'm gonna have as much faith in Smith this week, but plus 475. It was pick your poison of the 3 favorites, right? Allgaier, you expect to be really good, but things can happen. Well, things happen. Smith was there. He's the one I chose. Custer was the other one. Of course, he ends up being the right answer. So pick your poison. Just pick the wrong one, Rob.
Yep. And I essentially was like, I'm throwing my hands up and just saying Dale, just for the hell of it at 10-1. And then I gave you a Dale Jr. Lando Norris to win the pole. Lando held up his end of the bargain. Dale Jr. did not. So
yeah, and that just gives you such great value like that. Although I guess the Xfinity race happened first, but had the qualifying happen first, then you're sitting on a 25-1 for Junior to win, right? So moving it from 10-1, which would have been nice, but unfortunately missed that one. But still, good call by you. Again, you had to have something on Junior because Dale Jr. is probably the last one we're going to see him, and you nailed the F1 angle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Speaking of nailing angles, we nailed a few angles. In the
this is the good. We should have started with it. Why did I elect to not start with this race, Rob?
I don't know. But the truck race was really good. Like the
Save the
truck race,
best for last.
yeah, we did. The truck race was it was entertaining all the way through. Kudos to Lane Riggs. Drives from 18th to 1st, wins this race, leads 80 laps, holds off Corey Heim, who that's not an easy task.
Yeah, this is all the stuff we were talking about him before the season, Rod. It's finally come in. Hopefully he'll be back in that truck next year. I think all expectations are he will be back, and maybe we'll see a lot more of what we expected from him originally, right? It took a while for it to catch on, but he's caught on now. Had him over Tyler Ankrum, minus 130, Rod, to kick the card off. Easy peasy. Ankrum, 10th place finish. Said he'd probably be okay, right? He's in a fast car, but this was going to be a Riggs race. Riggs was going to be one of the top 5 cars probably at the end of the day. Ends up being the best one, so easily cashes that head-to-head.
Yeah, and look, there was only 2 cautions for Kaz in this entire race. I mean, it's 200 laps of just clean, hard racing, strategy calls through and through. Lane Riggs, like we said, we knew he was going to be good. Now, granted, we didn't at the end of the episode when we did the fantasy, we kind of poo-pooed on him, but we did pick him and say he was going to be good in this particular race. So love that. I can't, Cody, I didn't write all that down. Remember, we didn't have it down. So what was my?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I forgot we did. Yeah, this was our impromptu show. So Rod had given out Nick Sanchez over Connor Zilich at minus 115. Of course, that one hit. Boy, Zilich comes out, sets the pole, and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ. But then really everything we said was going to happen. Like he still has to learn this type of racing, right? And he's not, and we saw it even in the ARCA race. We said he was going to go dominate that one and win, and he was dominating it, and then wrong place, wrong time, and accident happens. But yeah, Sanchez had a great day, ends up in 5th place. So I guess I just talked about your entire bet for you, but it cashed.
Oh, that's all right. I mean, it's exactly what you said. I was not doubting that and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Zilich!" And he comes out on the pole. Well, how do you fade him? Well, starting on the pole and finishing the race is completely different things. I mean, you've got guys like Heim,
even in the Cup race where you can't pass, starting on the pole didn't matter. So, Grant Enfinger top 5, even money, Rod. Yeah. They didn't have it. I don't know. That 9 truck had absolutely nothing. He started 15th, ended 17th, and I don't know that he ever went forward at any point. I mean, Enfinger was just way fucking off. I don't really know how else to put it. I was very, very disappointed with what I saw from that 9 truck on Thursday night. Yeah,
he was not anywhere near the top 10 even most of the time. So unfortunately for that. All right, what was my next bet?
Yeah, you had Matt Crafton top 5 plus 550.
Damn it,
these damn Menards cars finishing in 6th and screwing you out of your bets, Rod.
Hey, listen, Matt Crafton was a top 5 truck toward the end of that. Sanchez was the one that screwed this all up for him because he's the one that passed him there toward the end. But Matt Crafton,
late. Yeah,
I'm telling you right now. Something about this track. I told you he was he started 11th even and finished in 6th. I mean, that was still a good run for Matt Crafton, even starting as high what was his odds again for a top 5 finish?
He was plus 550. So,
yeah. See?
Yeah, you were spot on with this one. Again, getting these long shots and just missing by 1 position, it sucks, but at the same time, you were correct in placing that bet and making it. So
Raja Karuth actually screwed this up for me too because I didn't factor him into a top 3 finish.
Nobody factored him in. That was a great run by Raja Karuth. I mean, it was outstanding there. I had Corey Day top 5 at 6-1. Kind of talked myself into it on the show. He's this big up and coming prospect. He's maybe going to need a little bit of time, right, to get settled in there. And we're going to see him. He's going to be in this 81 truck for a few races going forward. So maybe we'll get some more chances to bet on Day, but was not his day, if you want to say, Rod. You had the winning number under 18.5.
That blew it out.
It was plus 160, so I get why you went that direction, right? The thinking was the other side of it, you're getting Majeski. Obviously, Riggs lands on that side, so he ends up being the one to hit it. I gave out Connor Jones, top 5 at 50-1. It was kind of a late flyer. Jones actually looked pretty good for a while. He was running well until he overheated. And the top 5 probably wasn't going to have a chance. But of course, we had him in our fantasy deal, which is, oh boy, Rod, we're going to have some coming back to do in that one because he did not finish well. So we're going to need to start trying to catch up with the boys at the betting preview show over there. But that's how it goes.
I will say though that I don't know what the record is for most number of Connors to be in a single race, but this pretty much should probably put Connor Mozak, Connor Jones, Connor Zilich. Yeah, there's a lot of Connors.
Yeah, a lot of Connors. That's how it goes. Outrights, Rod. You had Ty Majeski at 5-1. Boy, he just another like normally good short track guy that wasn't that good of a short track guy this weekend. I don't know.
Well, he started 19th and finished 8th. He got himself up there. He managed to
but you never like thought to yourself like throughout the race, like,
God,
no. here's Ty Majeski, the short track ace. Like he just, I don't know, just rode around there and it wasn't that great. So I had Christian Eckes plus 150 as an outright. 4th place finish. I mean, what did he ended up? He led 17 laps. I don't know. He was running around the top 3 all day and ends up in 4th. Plus 150, I guess, looking back, wasn't the best decision, but for as good as he'd been on short tracks, like I don't necessarily regret that. Enfinger, we kind of co-signed at plus 850. Obviously, we talked about that, just nowhere to be found. But gave out Lane Riggs at 18-1, Rod. Obviously, he wins and gets it done. If you're going to get him on short tracks at longer odds, I think you're just going to kind of always have to take that because he's good at them and got it done. 2 races in a row for him. Non-playoff guy. Imagine if he'd been in the playoffs, winning 2 in a row, right? Then sort of looking scary. So definitely hope that he's back in that 38 car next year because I think that he could put together one heck of a season.
He was able to pass. He was able to do whatever he wanted to do with that truck. He was holding off the best of them. Again, he was holding off Corey Heim. The margin of victory was 1 second, but I mean, at times it looked like Heim there was so much back and forth in that truck race. There just was like, I mean, it felt so much like a boxing match where there's throwing punches and counter punches. And I mean, that was an exciting race. And that was 200 laps of just, hold on to your whatever seat cushion and figure this out because you didn't know what was going to happen from lap to lap.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an absolute great race. So that wraps up the Truck Series card, Rod.
Yeah, and again, it was a really good one. So a really good race. I'm kind of glad we did what we did too because we arrived at Lane Riggs. I don't know if any of us would have been ballsy enough to, maybe you, because you give out 16.
Yeah, well, that too, and you know how much I like my Lane Riggs on short tracks, Rod.
Yep. That is true. So yeah, that'll do it for Bristol. That was again, there was a lot of great racing. Everybody just calm down, man. It's enjoy what we have because if you tweak it, you're not going to like it anymore either. You're going to complain. You complained about racing. They gave you next gen. You complain about next gen. They're going to give you something else. You complain about that. If you complain about it, you're just going to continue to complain about it. I have gotten crucified for telling people to just enjoy things because people don't want to enjoy things anymore. They just want to pick it apart because that's what social media does to you. You hate it. You hate it because you love it. And then you love it because you hate it. Take a deep breath, everybody. Just appreciate what you've got, especially deals like Game Time gives us. JDK wants to know, boys, is there a promo code for Game Time? Yes, SGPN. You can use that promo code. Yep. Good. Yeah. Or CFBX. It's either one of them, but SGPN is the one you should.
I'll hit you up with the official one in the Discord, JDK. I asked Sean, but yeah. Look, now we go to Kansas where we had the closest finish in NASCAR history in the spring. So Kansas has delivered. I know that Bristol delivered in the spring and didn't deliver this time, so don't get your expectations too high, but should be a really good race, and I'm excited for it.
I'm very excited for it, to be honest with you. I cannot wait. We are getting now into the nitty-gritty of the playoffs, so that means that we've
all 3 series in the playoffs finally. Which is,
finally.
Again, why we don't line these playoffs up, I don't know, but whatever.
You're complaining, Cody. Quit complaining.
Yes. Sorry, apologies.
Just kidding. Yeah. Anyways, we'll be back tomorrow to go ahead and break down Kansas and give you our picks for that as we always do. And all 3 series. So we've got all 3 series like normal, and then DFS show on Friday to wrap up the week. So until then, let's put a bow in Bristol and have some fun getting ready for Kansas, Cody. In the meantime, let everyone know where they can find all of your amazing work outside of this safe space here.
Follow me over on the X, Rod, at @Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff there. There's a lot of it. We're just going with that for now on. There's a lot of stuff. I write about everything they'll let me write about. So Thanks to all of you who read it. I really appreciate it, and it definitely shows, and that's why they keep giving me more. So appreciate it. Keep it up, and see you guys tomorrow. Picks for Kansas. Fucking go, baby.
You've made Cody one of the hottest authors on the Sports Gambling Podcast website, so keep that up. Hot-wise and hot-wise. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the about everything I've got going on. I went 2 for 3 last night on my Travis Kelce prop bets. I said that he wouldn't catch more than 4 passes, and I also said that him and Kyle Pitts would combine for less than 93.5. The only thing I missed is that he would catch 6 yards in a quarter. He got 1 target, 1 catch, 1 yard in the first quarter. That's some bitch. Anyways, so yeah, catch out my work on Sportsbook Review. Always posting some good stuff over there. I got some first touchdown stuff for tonight too, if you can catch it before then. So yeah, love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow for Kansas. And in the meantime, let's go racing and let it ride.